Where are you?
I hear rocks falling. I see the like slate. It's like near the edge of a mountain. I'm walking with a group of people, and we're watching goats walk parallel to us on a higher course above the path.
So you're on a mountain trail?
Yes.
And you're there with a group of others, you said.
Yes.
Look around you. Who are these others?
There are other seekers, other monks in my group. Women, mostly 20s.
So they're all males?
All the ones I notice.
Uh-huh. And then go ahead.
I think I'm getting the impression there might be women, but in my group, women.
Do you see other groups as well?
No, I just know that they're coming.
Oh, okay. And then you said they're dressed as monks?
Yeah, there's different colors. There's red and yellow. I don't know what I'm wearing. I'm just wearing a simple just a white robe, but I see mostly red and yellow.
So bring your attention to yourself, and you perceive yourself to have a body.
Yes.
And it's male or female?
It's male. I'm short. I'm very brown. Small. Very small. Simple.
And you're wearing some kind of a white robe?
Yes.
Okay. And is there anything on your head?
No, I don't have any hair.
Oh, no hair either. Okay. No hair and nothing on your head. And then how about any jewelry?
No, I'm just carrying some provisions. Just a simple, maybe leather type sack. It goes over my back. It's kind of like a pod-shaped sack.
Okay. And do these other folks that you're with have the same kind of packs on?
Yeah, basically the same. Some people are packed really heavy, or some a little lighter.
And look down at your feet. Or is there anything on your feet?
Just sandals.
Sandals, okay. And then what's the environment like there? What's the temperature or the weather like?
It seems like what I'd call a normal day. It's not too hot.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty clear air. It's not humid at all. A little breeze blowing. There's not much vegetation.
And as you look from your vantage point on that mountain, what are you looking? How far up or down can you see any kind of a vista or anything like that?
It's like we're just starting. It's just like the foothills, or it's almost like a quarry where there's it's elevated, but it's just like a precursor to the harder part of the journey.
Okay, so you feel like you're at the start of a big journey, huh?
Yeah.
You're doing beautifully. Well, what else about this scene stands out to you, or do you notice?
Just that we're going. We're going to the. We're going.
And how are you feeling about that?
Excited. So excited.
Oh, okay.
But at this stage of the journey, it's more just going through the motions.
Uh-huh.
Feel myself get excited.
Okay.
drawn to the place.
And do you have a sense of where you're going?
The peak, the holy peak.
Oh, the holy peak. Oh, excellent.
I'm all going.
Okay, and so there's going to be a couple groups of you making a pilgrimage up to the mountaintop, huh?
Hundreds and hundreds.
Oh, hundreds and hundreds. Wow, okay, it's growing.
Everybody.
Oh, okay, so there's a lot of people. Excellent.
Anyone that's not bound. The people that are bound aren't able to go. The people that are householders and bound with their lives.
Oh, okay. But you're in the priesthood? Is that what you would call it, or?
Not that formal. It's not
Okay.
that
Oh, okay.
more of an incipient. It's like maybe Brahmin.
Okay.
Might be like a precursor to a monk, but we're dressed. We've dressed this way for a while. We've practiced this way for a while. It's new. There's still a tradition. It's almost like we're forming the tradition as we repeat what we're doing, as we shave our heads, as we put these robes on. It's like we're creating the tradition.
Okay. So you're part of a movement, it sounds like.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. And what are you going to find when you get to the top of the peak? Do you know, or do you have some kind of a goal, or is it they're just going to gather there?
We're going to see the Buddha.
Oh, okay.
We've heard about this.
Uh-huh.
Followers already, but this is something special. We don't know what, but there's something.
Something special about that guy?
Yeah, something special about this particular meeting as opposed
Oh, okay.
to, even being called to other similar meetings, other hearing about him.
Beautiful. Is there anything else you notice about this scene that you want to mention?
No.
Okay, well, let's do this. Let's close out that scene, and then let's drift and float to a day, or let's go ahead and just condense time forward to when you get to the top of that peak, and now you're there. Tell me what's happening.
It seems strange. There's more vegetation there almost. It's like very organic. And there's a space for us. It's like there's no limit.
there's no women, huh?
No limit.
Oh, there's no limit. Oh.
There are women there.
Sorry, I thought you said women. I mean limit. Whatever.
Yeah, as we keep coming in, it's like the space expands to fit us.
Oh, okay.
No limit. It's transdimensional as we arrive. I don't notice any gateway or anything. It's just fluid. Like first there was a mountain, and then there was a garden, and the garden is the mountain, but we can all fit. We're all there. There's no capacity limit.
So beautiful. You're doing great. Tell me about this garden that you see.
I sense it more than see it. There's flowers, but it's more that feeling in the air that earlier where I said there was no humidity. Here it's like there's humidity. There's a fullness to the air. Everything's alive in a different way. It's full in a capacity. It's more. I don't want to say it's more dense because there's a lightness to it, but it's more densely packed. There's more information available and less space here.
Sounds like a beautiful place. And then are more people still arriving?
There's more, but I'll say now at this point we're all here.
Okay. And as you look around you, how big is that gathering?
It's thousands. There's thousands.
And then is everybody dressed kind of like you? Most of them?
Mostly, there's a large variety. There's no rules about dress, but most of us have these over the.
And as you look around that gathering, you came with a specific group, right? Are you still with that group, or have you just migrated into the whole?
Yes, we're still together.
And then as you look at that group that you've come with, who are they to you? How are you guys related? What do you have in common, or?
My spiritual brothers.
Okay.
We all come from different places with the same story.
Oh, okay.
We all had a yearning that our families couldn't provide, that having children or having houses or having ties didn't satisfy, or we knew wouldn't satisfy. That wasn't our interest, and we found each other. We found each other one by one, and we came together fairly organically. And this was happening all over. This wasn't just our group, but it was happening all over.
Mm-hmm.
That whole, many different regions, but whole region.
What's that emotion that's coming up for you right now?
Just excitement and a lack of almost like a completion to where there's been this longing, this desire, this determination, and we didn't know what it was for. And this is very clearly part of what this is for, and we're recognizing it. We're not showing our emotions in the same way as I am now.
Yes.
We're all feeling it.
But you know the others feel the same way you do, huh?
They have to.
Yeah.
They would have to.
What's happening now?
Well, we're getting settled.
Mm-hmm.
We've already... The Enlightened One was already there when we showed up, the Buddha. He was already there, but he wasn't present in his... He wasn't ostentatious. He wasn't bringing attention to himself. He was just waiting.
Did you see him?
Just, yes, but it's not... It's almost like it's forming. You know, it's almost like there was a presence, and now there's a great white light, and now there's a corporeal presence, a visible manifestation of what before was just an idea or an image or something in the back of our brains. It was an idea. It was an idea, and now the idea has been solidified into something that's physical.
Interesting. And what do you notice about that being now that he's physical? Or is it a he, or?
Yes, but he's not, it's a shifting. It's a shifting, and it's a fluidity of consciousness, to where I'm able to see a projected form, a very clear physical form, but within it there's any aspect of any humanity one could that would be useful to somebody. Any aspect that needs to come out is what we're seeing. And so I'm getting the impression that we each may be seeing this, but we may be seeing something slightly different. It's catered to us.
That sounds amazing. What are you getting from your gazing upon this being?
Well, I've never experienced anything like it before. I've had the moments of contemplation with my brothers and self-contemplation, but I've never had an experience quite this out of time, out of space. It's interesting. We're murmuring, but the murmuring is dying down as we come to realize that something's beginning.
So something's about to start now, huh? So it sounds like... Oh, go ahead.
Yes, he's starting to talk. He's telling us something about this place. I can't say the words, but he's telling us something about this place. Something about what we had to do to get here. And something's very there's a contrast. There's something that's like a tear. It's like a tear, and it's like pulling back a veil. It's not visual, but it's mental. And so we experience this pulling back of the veil, and it's not 100% comfortable.
Oh, does it hurt? Is it painful?
No, it's not physically uncomfortable, but it's an ego. The ego, it's very similar to working in this state, to where the ego has to just step to the side. And not everybody is willing to do that. And so it's more painful and more alarming to some than others.
How are some other of the people reacting?
They're in disbelief.
Oh, okay.
They're in disbelief.
And how are you reacting?
I'm in wonder. I'm in wonder. It's like a loss, but there's more to gain with the loss than just letting go.
That's beautiful, yeah. Let's see.
And so some of them just go. They just they don't leave like it's described, that they just kind of vanish. It's like they're just not in that state anymore. They're just not in that dimension. I think they're just back on the mountain. I think they just go back to the mountain.
Oh, so they kind of are just jumping in dimensions or something.
Yeah,
huh?
Yeah, that's my impression.
Yeah.
Vantage, where it's like I'm staying and I'm in the dimension. I'm in the garden.
I'm
in the garden.
Beautiful. How do you feel being in the garden when others are not able to be there?
It's parallel to Garden of Eden, where it's that's what I'm getting as the representation, that it's just, nobody kicked us out, we just left. And it wasn't. And even that was catered to those people. Even that tear was a tear that put them on their path for a future incarnation.
Well, it sounds like a beautiful experience that you're having.
Yes, it's very different. It's very different. And he's talking, and as he's talking, his voice is gaining different dimensions, and it's shaking us.
Oh.
His voice itself is shaking us And it's shaking away. It's shaking away those ties. It's shaking away things we don't need. And he starts to talk about the things that we can use, that we do need. He's starting to talk about the ways that we absorb information. He's talking about all the different ways that we absorb information. And even as he's talking about it, it feels like those ways are expanding. There's something in us. We are the plants that he's talking about. We are the plants in the garden. And it's like he's the water.
Oh.
It's like the water. And it's just nourishing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And cleansing. It's so cleansing. It's just his voice. His voice. It's so loud and it reaches all of us. And I can see the light. I can see the light in his forehead. And I can see the light. It's the same light. It's the same light. And just as much as we're able to open to it, it's open to us.
And are you opening under that gaze and his voice?
Not any more than I was, but I'm just, it's a interesting test in capacity. I can see it in all the different dimensions and not just that incarnation, but in this incarnation too, to where there's a capacity. That capacity is always just being wedged just a little bit more open. And that's just a little bit too much. It's more like the tear, or it's too much. So it's just coming just exactly as we need it. And we're absorbing it as those plants, just exactly the amount of water we need without too much. We're just taking what we need.
So you only take in as much as you need and you can absorb.
Yeah, that's the metaphor, that's the lesson, and that's what we're experiencing. I think we're all kind of experiencing it. So I look around and I see us in our same positions, and we're people, but we're plants. We're each a different plant.
Oh, tell me about that.
So that's space. It's just how everybody's just a little bit different. It's just like if you look at a landscape or a garden, there's taller plants, there's shorter plants, there's wider plants, and just like it says in the text.
Yeah. What kind of plant are you?
Oh, I don't know the name.
Okay.
It's a plant from my village. Just a plant.
All right.
They're all just common to the area.
Beautiful. Is there anything else in this scene that you notice or you want to point out?
No, that's all I'm getting right now.
Okay, well, let's do this. You're doing beautifully. Let's close out that scene. And I want you to move, drift, and float to another significant event in the life of that monk that we are viewing. And now we have moved. Now you have arrived. Tell me, what's happening?
There's another shift, and so it's shaking and shaking, and there's a vertical tear. It's a vertical light coming from the bottom of the vision to the top of the vision. And it's a it's like an obelisk. It's the treasure tower, but it looks a little more like an Egyptian obelisk.
Mm.
And it's jeweled, but there's more to it. It's a text. There's words on it. There's symbols on the tower.
Do you recognize those symbols?
They look Egyptian.
Mm-hmm.
It looks very Egyptian to me.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a precursor to what we think of as hieroglyphics.
Mm-hmm. And then you said it's got jewels on it as well?
Yes, it's much like it's described, but there's more detail that I can see if I'm feeling with my heart, and I feel the treasure tower. It has these symbols on it. Now it's like my body. The treasure tower is a template, and it's overlaying my body.
Oh.
And so my feet are the bottom, and my head's in the middle, and there's more of my body that goes up. And then the treasure tower. And it's very centered. It makes one feel very centered.
I was just going to ask you how it feels.
Yes, it's as if the lower worlds and the higher worlds, they are in this body.
Sounds kind of like alignment.
Yes, it is alignment. It is. That's what all of it is. They're showing me how that is the Merkaba. They're showing me how that is the spaceship.
Hmm.
It's intense, and I don't. They're showing me some shapes.
What kind of shapes?
Triangles.
Okay.
Well, triangles. Everything is angular. Well, not everything. There's circles too, but everything is significant based on the angles.
Are you looking at the body in particular, or are you just looking at all of creation? Or
I'm in the treasure tower. I am the treasure tower.
Uh-huh.
I'm experiencing my body as alignment, and my body as a human as being extremely powerful. And so I'm seeing how the lower worlds mixed with the higher worlds create this Merkaba, this power, this shape, this alignment, this potential, this spaceship. It's how we travel. It's how many, many beings travel, but humans are special, and we're special because our bodies are our spaceships. There's so much power once we realize that. Once we realize the power of physicality, and stop trying to relegate it to the extra-dimensional. The power of extra-dimensionality is in the physical. The physical is just the small part. It's just one part. The extra dimensions are here. The physical realm is it's a powerful place because we can apply. This is where we apply all of the other theory. Potential until we manifest it here in physical reality.
Nice.
And so we're realizing this individually and as a collective as we go through this ceremony. And so that's what the ceremony in the air is. That's where when we realize, as we realize, and every time we realize, it's representative. It's happening all the time. It's happening everywhere. And it's each moment of realization.
Each moment. Oh, go ahead. Each moment of realization is when your body aligns with the treasure tower, and
yeah, and it's the ceremony in the air.
Oh, beautiful.
When we can relax into it, when we can align, then we have that power. And there's different levels of it.
Tell me about that.
Well, I'm experiencing them now.
Okay.
So you can experience your regular physical form and not be conscious, not, just be in the world of animality. And then humans have almost a responsibility or task or test or voyage, or, we have this determination that's more than that, to where we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to do something different, not live on a pattern that's mindless. We want to be we want to be conscious creators. And so there's different levels to that. There's the realization that we can do it. There's the practice of doing it. There's people that have practiced doing it for many decades. There's people that just live in alignment. And the more you live in alignment, the more in lower dimensions and the more higher dimensions you can integrate and process without having that ego get in the way, you out of that realm. And so the more practice we have, the more acts of dedication and determination we make. The more we do, the more we think. And ultimately, it's not about doing, it's about relaxing into, but it's the practice that helps that.
And how do we practice? Or how do you practice?
Well, in this life I would chant. In that life we did body movements. It was more like yoga. Physical. And I think that's what they're guiding Julia to do, is to do more physical movements and relax into that space where she's aligned and she knows her body is the treasure.
Beautiful. Am I talking to Julia's Buddha nature right now?
Yeah, it's a part of it. It has a broader perspective.
Well, can I have permission to ask questions from her Buddha nature right now?
Yes, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, I know that you could have brought forth many different lifetimes for Julia to see today, but you chose to bring forth this lifetime where she was practicing as a monk and got to see the Buddha. Why did you show that to her? What does that have to do with her life today?
Well, she wanted to see it. When she was writing her determination, we told her, we can show you anything. If you want to. It's just a matter of just determining it. Just like anything else, you create your reality, you create your dreams, you create these sessions. And so just see what you want to see.
Excellent.
So the reason that she wanted, it's an affirmation. It's an affirmation, and she's ready for it, and it's time, and she's seeing what she needs to see as far as the physical components. In the last year, the part of her that's been the more limiting part, or the part that's been resistant, has been making efforts to, get on the team. So even the resistance is working towards the benefit and doing so by lessening. And so I think that by showing her this, she's getting the affirmation that she's been doing that. She's on the right path.
So she's on the right path.
She's on the right path. She's been there before. She's accumulating knowledge. You know, at the point where she was there in the past, in that lifetime, she didn't have as large of an understanding as she does now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a passing of the torch.
Beautiful.
Where she's making the traditions, like that monk was making the traditions. She doesn't have to worry about what the traditions are. She's actively creating. So she can determine which of those pathways, which of those imprints are helpful. And that's how her ego's been helping her, that part that's used to be so resistant, as it's able to see the imprints and see the karma and see the things that she doesn't mind. They're helpful to her, the patterns that are helpful, and the patterns that she can let go of.
Nice. Well, what are some of the things that she can let go of?
Fear of failure, fear of being wrong. She never means to hurt anybody. And so if somebody accidentally gets hurt, if something happens to where she's wrong and she's embarrassed or she's hurt somebody, she doesn't have to beat herself up for that, because her intent is pure. She can see the bigger picture. And so she doesn't have to stay in that state of, I have to fear taking that step forward, because what's going to happen if I fall? She's practicing. She's not quite there yet, but she's doing so much better at just taking those, leaps of faith, moving to Oregon, doing those things that she just knows she's supposed to do. She doesn't know why.
Why did she go to Oregon? Why was she called there?
Oh, we've already talked to her about that, but she just needed to go. Yeah, she just needed to go. She needed to know she could leave.
Okay.
Also, it was helpful for her to feel the acceptance of her coming back and to realize that her community really does rely on her. And she didn't realize that until she left, that her friends, we have an interdependence that is so beautiful. And no matter where we are, she doesn't have to be in Lawrence to experience that, but no matter where she is, that the people that she's created these connections with, they value her. And she likes to be valued. She likes to be validated. We send her to places where she gets a lot of validation. And it's a positive, it's positive. And in the future, she won't need as much validation.
Beautiful.
Giving herself the validation that she needs more and more and more. But she loves it. She loves the encouragement. And that's why she likes to encourage others. And that's why she likes to give them the mantra and, give them their plant the seed.
Well, she was wondering how she could best help, share what she knows and what she believes in. What's your advice to her on that?
It's paired with those other questions, and it's all together. And we tell her this, and she knows that even though she lacks it's not about having the routine, but there is something about cumulative practice. So, when she brushes her teeth, that is an affirmation, and that's helping her teeth. And when she chants, that resonance itself is helping her teeth. And so that's that she can focus on, is that it's not about having to chant to become aligned. She can become aligned without chanting. She's aligned a lot of the time, and she's not always chanting. She just has that vibration. But when she says the words aloud, the resonance is actually physically healing. So that's something that she hasn't considered before, that we're just telling her now. that will help motivate her to chant, in the morning, chant in the evening, chant when she's thinking about any physical healing, because the resonance itself is it's holding space for her to heal.
Beautiful. Yeah, she was wondering, thank you for that. That's amazing. She was wondering about her teeth, and she was wondering specifically, first of all, why is she afraid of dentists?
They're not usually very good people. She's had some good experiences with healers, and she can tell the difference.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for her to go to somebody to be healed that isn't a healer.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's had that resistance since she was a child. She didn't understand it. She wasn't able to verbalize it then.
Mm.
But she doesn't like doctors that don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And, she's even not that trustworthy of the ones that do, because of all the other experiences. And, she had a really good doctor when she was a child that she saw until she was an adult, because he was, Dr. Whitaker, he was very kind. And the dentist that she sees now, when she does see a dentist, is a healer, and she can tell. The issue is with finances, and she doesn't have a lot of finances. And that's why she doesn't, it's not necessary that she goes to the dentist to heal her teeth. She can pretty much take care of most of that herself at this point.
So can you help her with that fear of dentists? Or does that need to be...
Go to a healer. She doesn't need to play around with people that don't care about her.
Okay, so she just needs to trust her instincts.
About
who to go to.
The system is so distorted.
Mm-hmm.
She knows how to heal herself. She's done it forever. So it's just a matter of her being more mindful, more focused, going through the motions,
mm-hmm.
just like those monks had to go through the motions to climb that mountain. They had to go through the motions to climb the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't suffering. It was dedication. It was joy. They were excited. They were so excited to go where they were going. But it was just walking. It was going one foot after the other. And that's no different than her life now. It's just, she doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be a routine, but it's cumulative. It can be a routine. She can just get up and chant.
Mm.
She can't get up and brush her teeth.
Mm-hmm.
She can do those things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not she's scared of the routine. She doesn't need it. She doesn't need to be scared of it either.
Why is she afraid of the routine?
It's a condition.
Mm.
She doesn't want conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Conditions are conditional. That is her motto. If there's nothing that we can't get to without, there's infinite pathways to get to where one wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
So saying you have to chant in the morning, you have to chant in the evening, it's ridiculous to her.
Mm.
But she's also willing to understand that that's a benefit. It's a benefit to chant in the morning, and it's a benefit. It's a joy to do this. Mm-hmm. So reframing that, getting that idea of a routine, a daily practice, reframing that into, daily blessing, a daily experience, a daily just expression of joy.
Mm.
Another practitioner is talking about the birds and how the birds just chirp for joy in the morning. That's what it can be for her.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's a better way to frame that.
Okay, so now that she has that frame, it's going to be easier for her to do the good habits, or not the good, but the habits that serve her and that will help her move forward. Right.
She doesn't have to be as resistant. She can frame that in a celebratory. That's the word we want. It's a celebration. Mm-hmm. It's a ceremony. That excitement that she felt when she knew she was going to see something. She didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. Well, Julian this time knew what it was, but that monk, he didn't know what he was going to experience. He just had this giddiness because he knew that there was something. she's going to see that same thing every day.
Nice.
She had the privilege of opening with the Hanzon and seeing that treasure tower right there every day, merging with it every day. So she can hold that sense of excitement when, it's a ceremony. It's not a routine. It's a ceremony. It's a ceremonious celebration of life.
So taking good care of her physical body is a celebration of her physical body because she needs it. And yes, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and she's more and more, she's, eating less pork, eating less beef. There's too many additives in those meats for humans. They're just too many additives. It's not even so much the karma as it is what they're putting in them for his bodies. It's what they're telling people anyway. It's what I hear. It seems like she should always drink more water.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you for that. Well, along those lines, we were wondering what the messages were in her teeth. Her why does she experience some cavities in her missing teeth?
Just what she's saying. Slander. She's to stop slandering herself. Stop talking bad about others. It's just she catches herself. She's doing it less and less. But if she can just completely stop, that would be even better if she can, and it's difficult because there's necessary discernments needed. So using words, like we cautioned her with saying that people were low vibration because people aren't low vibration, but people do entertain low vibratory states. And it's not always in her best interest to entertain those. She is getting more discerning about when to attach to those, when to entertain those states and when to detach from those states and just say, no, it's not. There's so much more benefit by focusing on the positive. At the same time, she understands that Buddhahood includes all of the realms. And it's a progression. So as she becomes more aligned, as she can treat herself with more respect, as she can slander herself less, then she's going to be extending all of those privileges to everybody else. And so that includes all the realms, as she is centered, she can deal with the more demonic entities. She can deal with the friends that don't always have her best interest in mind, or she can deal with the judgment of a parent, and she can deal with a session that doesn't go that great, a hiccup. She can deal with those things as she becomes more confident and more loving of herself.
Yeah, we were wondering how she can best work with those lower vibratory states. It's inevitable that she's going to meet those in daily life. So how can she best approach those?
Well, she doesn't need to necessarily approach them. They're going to approach her. And so as they approach her, she knows the manner in which to engage with them. And she's going to fail sometimes in the scheme of things. She's not going to always. She's going to, and that's part of the process. Like there is sort of a capacity test to where it's a humility. You think you're doing good. If the ego isn't keeping up with the progress, if the ego if the ego is inflating with the work, then there's a corrective part of the process. And so we're showing her now, we're learning this now, and we're showing her now that if she keeps doing that ego work, if she keeps looking at that shadow, keep looking at that resistance, then those failures are even less. She doesn't have to be scared of them because it's just like anything else. But she also doesn't have to experience the pain. She doesn't have to test herself because she's beyond the test. in some areas. She will be. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
When she is aligned, she doesn't feel that the oscillation, the vacillation, the contrast that would affect her in previous life states when she didn't feel like that.
Okay, so the best way for her to work with those lower vibratory states is when she's in alignment to end. And
work with herself, work with her own lower states. Work with what we're showing her, work with what the universe is putting in front of her face.
Okay.
And that's enough. She doesn't have to worry about, anything else. She can express herself honestly. And that goes with the people in the past where she didn't necessarily feel like she could. And now she's in a position, a physical position, an emotional position, a career position, psyche position. She's in a position where she's more able to honestly express herself because she has the agency to do so. When she's put in a position where she doesn't feel that agency, that's where she's uncomfortable. And she probably, that's something that, it just comes with time and practice. Okay. How to deal with discomfort when, there are those positions.
Well, how can she best deal with her discomfort when she feels those things? Just
pause. Pause. And she wants to snowball things, She wants to have a tantrum. That's her little, that's the ego, that's the little her. It's, she can do both. She can pause and she can honor that part that wants to throw the tantrum. There's a reason, there's a reason that she didn't, and it's coming from different times she was repressed in childhood and times she felt repressed in other lifetimes and times she felt repressed in her adulthood.
So it's important for her to let out her anger, but also to move on.
Talk. It's important for her to verbalize her feelings, to express her feelings to the people that need to hear it. And it's important that even if there's a power dynamic involved, that she feels like she can express herself. And that's something that she's going to work with.
Okay.
Where it's like, the next time she encounters someone that feels like a father, the next time she encounters someone that feels like a judgment, it feels like a boss, how is she going to navigate that? And there's not one answer. Just try to be as honest as she can. And sometimes honesty is silence. She doesn't, sometimes there isn't a benefit to the tantrum. Sometimes there isn't a benefit to the expression. But she can express it to herself. She can express it to the person. She can direct it to the person it goes to instead of, ambient anger or ambient anxiety.
Okay, perfect.
And, it doesn't matter whether they hear her. That's what she has to let go of. That's what she has to let go of. She can write a letter and not send it. It doesn't matter if they hear her. She just has to express herself.
Speaking of what we're speaking of, she was wondering what kind of shadow work she can do next.
That's pretty much it. Looking at how she's wrong, it opened her up the other day when she was doing work with Amberly, her friend, and talking about, well, do you feel okay being wrong? And no, she doesn't feel okay being wrong. She wants to be right.
Yes.
She's working very closely with what those words mean.
Yes.
What they mean to her, and she's looking at it, and she's able to dissect it and see, how she has a resistance to feeling wrong because she understands there is no wrong. She doesn't want to say I'm sorry because there is no sorry. She understands that on such a deep level that she feels somewhat shameful for living that truth, living in that. And she doesn't want to be arrogant. And she can be. So there's a balance there. We're working with the ego to make sure that the ego doesn't grow with the work. And she's looking at it, she's consciously trying to do the same. And she's doing a good job.
Excellent. I think she's doing a grand job. Thank you for that. Let's see. Well, she visited, I think she visited Eagle Peak, but we had a question about what does Holy Eagle Peak represent, and what about the ceremony in the air?
Yeah, she's seeing now that the peak is like it's like the 3D person's capacity for understanding the Lotus Sutra. It's almost like a provisional understanding. And there's almost like levels of provisional. There's the truth, but then there's also these bridges from the provisional teachings to the truth. And the Eagle Peak is almost like that human world, that physical realm, and so we're coming into this physical realm with pure physicality, through the steps of the monks, through watching the goats and how they're climbing the mountain, and, this very, very mundane experience. And then there's no blending. There's no division between the mundane and the spiritual. It was just a blending. Blending from the less dense, the less meaningful air to the air that was alive and had meaning. And then we were the garden, and we were the ceremony, and we were the Buddha. There wasn't a separation in energies. And so she's seeing the difference between that. She's seeing the difference between that physical pursuit, the blending, and then the ceremony in the air, which is almost like the higher, more crown chakra, is beyond the physical body, but incorporating the physical body. And so it's more akin to pure Buddhahood, than Holy Eagle Peak represents. The ceremony in the air is it's that constant next level, that alignment, that vertical progression from down to up.
Beautiful. Anything else you want to say about that?
There's something that corresponds to the chakras. Something about the different colors. The different colors that they represent.
Oh, well, speaking of colors, she wants to use color in her work. She saw herself as a beautiful color manipulator, color and energy manipulator in a lifetime. How can she use color in her work?
Well, we're showing her the triangles. In her past work, she was using 90-degree angles. In this work, she's going to be using different angles. And so there are 60-degree angles that are important in the Merkaba. And so she's seeing how she doesn't understand it. Give us a minute.
Yeah.
So there's the 0 point in that triangular shape that we're showing her that corresponds to being aligned. And it corresponds to color, but it's resonance. It's all frequency. And so there's like a place to slip in. It's extra dimensional. She can see the form.
What form is she looking at?
She's being given us a nursery rhyme. She's being told left, right, turn it over, out of sight. There was a book that she read that described the process to activate the Merkaba. And there's elements in that might be helpful to her now, so she may want to reread that.
Okay.
But that nursery rhyme is it's a geometry. The nursery rhyme is showing her geometry, and when she follows that in her sleep, then she'll be able to use that more easily to astrally project.
Oh, nice.
So I think she's going to have help with it. She has friends that are masters in this, and she's a little resistant, but if she wants to let go, she can let Virgil help her with this.
That's great, because she wanted to understand the Merkaba and how to use this in astrally projecting.
We think she will. We think she will.
Okay. Where does this desire come from, and how will she use it?
It's related to everything else. It isn't any different. It's just being aligned and living in alignment. It's just going to create ripples of happiness. She doesn't need a purpose. It's to project in her sleep, to be using her theta states and her delta states. You know, when she's sleeping, she's got just as much potential there almost as much potential there as in waking life.
Beautiful. Why is color so important to her?
It just is. Some people like nature, and some people like music, and some people like their bodies. And for her, it's just, there's something about the colors that, just thinking about her blue dress in that life, thinking about her casino glasses, and thinking about her job, and her other livelihoods and her other lifetimes. She wants color. She wants more colors. She wants the broadest spectrum of colors.
Well, how can she use these colors in her work?
With the casino. Casino, the main way. She's not limited. When John tells her she's Picasso, she's right in saying, she didn't believe that. She didn't believe that. But now she not only believes it, but she believes it in a way to where she realizes that she's actually better than Picasso, because Picasso wasn't happy. So she has his chart, she has his star chart, but she doesn't have to cling to misery like she might have done when she were him. She doesn't have to live. She doesn't have to. But what she can do is she can experience his life. She can live as him. She can use that. She can use his inspiration for her art. And she hasn't painted or done that type of art. It's not as at the forefront of her mind. But she's just as talented in that area as she is in any of the other areas. She hesitates because she doesn't like conditions. She doesn't like realism, and she's never been a realist. She doesn't want to paint realistic things. And by drawing upon Picasso, then it's much easier to, she doesn't have to. You know, she doesn't have to draw upon his style. That's not her style. But she can use the brain state that he occupied in order to act as a conduit for that type of material.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that she can do. She doesn't know if that's what she wants to spend most of her time doing or not, but that's certainly, it's always been something that she does, whether she focuses on it or not.
Will that help her incorporate color in her life more if she does some painting?
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
She could learn about art.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she didn't take any classes in school. She didn't do any of those things because she felt like she knew it already. She doesn't. It's just like anything else. She can learn it. She can learn infinite. She can learn realism. She's actually exceptionally good at realistic things. She just doesn't want to do them.
Uh-huh.
But she can learn it. She could learn to want to do that. She can want to be better at the things that she has resistance for.
Mm.
You know, and that was kind of the lesson that she learned in in high school by taking those classes that she wasn't good at. There really isn't. She can be good at whatever. It's just about focus.
Well, she does have a lot of different interests and things. What should be her primary focus right now?
She doesn't like to take her opportunities. So it's almost like she's in a waiting game. She's like a horse that's been chomping at the bit. She's got this energy that wants to go, 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 go. But she also has this energy that's extremely patient and extremely wary and fearful of being too hasty.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those are valuable. They've both got her where she is. She doesn't need to be any hastier in some ways, and then in other ways she absolutely needs to be more, what's the word, like a tortoise, like a systemic, more
consistent and just moving forward,
yeah,
step by step.
Right, step by step, as opposed to. So she's learning that feeling of forward movement, it's always going forward. She doesn't need to feel like that horse chomping at the bit.
Mm.
At the same time, when there are circumstances where she's allowed to run without the bit, she can, no reins, no harness. She can accept that she's a thoroughbred and just run.
That's beautiful.
So those things are there. It's not valuable for her to run when she needs to be patient, and it's not valuable for her to be patient when she needs to run. But she's doing a good job of evaluating when is appropriate to do what. She feels like there's something coming up that she needs to not delay on. And so we're prompting her that in this circumstance, she needs to take her actions. Take action, set things up. She doesn't know what that is yet. And so that's, she's fearful because she just doesn't understand.
Well, is there any particular action she needs to be taking right now that she's not addressing?
We're thinking maybe she can schedule her day a little bit more in advance. She's really found, she's started keeping a calendar now that she has clients and external obligations. So she started keeping a calendar, and just that's helped.
Good.
When she was younger, she kept a journal of things that she ate, things that she did. And so now, instead of necessarily keeping track of what she has done, what she can do is keep track of what she would like to do. So in a more focused way, she can plan her day. She can plan her tomorrow. She can plan her week. She can plan her life. She never wanted to plan her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't have to plan specifics. She could vision board, and she started with that energy. She can complete her vision board. You know, she can go ahead and take those positive steps. She can plan those things, knowing that they may not happen. Not attaching to the outcome, just, you know, making that desire known, or making that plan. She
Great.
can create it, just like she created this session. You know.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
But, you know, just like she was able to reword that determination. She can do that when she's chanting. She can do that with her day. She can do that with, you know, the rest of her life.
Beautiful.
And it does end, you know, just the way she went into the session, knowing there was information available there. She knew that it was there and it helped her, you know, be helpful. And also knowing that whatever came up, that was going to be that information. And so we don't have anything that we don't have anything to tell her now. It's not the time. Just listen, follow, take pauses. She'll know when it's time to take the actions. She'll know the actions to take.
Excellent. I'm just jotting that down.
Yeah, and one of those actions may be getting a lottery ticket, because that's, you know, she knows she can create reality. She doesn't have to wait for prosperity. And she has teachers that, you know, she has people that can teach her how to play the lottery. It's that she can stay in that feeling of alignment. And if the prosperity is aligned with her purpose, then there's nothing to say that there won't be abundance coming from all kinds of different directions, and who knows where.
Beautiful. Yes, that was one of her questions, was how can she freely accept abundance and be in alignment with that energy flow of abundance.
It's the same shadow work where she thinks that being wrong, that there's such a thing as being wrong, and that there's not such a thing as being wrong. So it's that wobble of her arrogance and her ego, playing off of her natural authority. She has a natural wisdom, a natural authority. It's just there. She is an authority in her field, whatever that is, whatever that will be. She's becoming, even with, you know, she knows, she has that feeling, but she has to let her ego come to terms with the fact that she's not practiced enough to be an authority. So it's that she's a natural authority. She knows what she's talking about. But she has to understand that her perspective isn't always everyone else's perspective. There isn't a right and a wrong. Just because she knows what she's talking about doesn't mean somebody else is wrong, or that she's threatened. There's no threat. She has to relax into the knowingness. The knowing, just like John said, just like her clients say. Relax into the knowing. It's not a question. It just is. And when we're in that state, then there's so much more available to us, because it's interesting, because it's potential, but it's potential that's manifested. So it's an interesting vibration that she's been shown the last couple of days that she's never felt before. Where she thought that the magic was in potential, and it is. But when the potential is manifested, that's where the giddiness and the joy are created. And so there was once, shortly after she started chanting, she was able to find the 4-leaf clover without looking for it.
Mm-hmm.
And she bent down and she picked it up and she handed it to her friend and just said, this is proof. And, he still remembers that. And she'll never forget it. And it's that alignment, that natural. There's no argument. There's no way somebody can take that away from her. There's no wrong. There's no sorry. There's no. That 4-leaf clover is her abundance, and she has it. And she just has to claim it. It's just knowing. It's just realized. And it's swept away in waves as she's dealing with the self-esteem, self-value, self-worth, and other people's understanding of their own self-worth are bringing into focus her own understanding of where her insecurities might come from.
How can she claim her abundance?
Let's keep being generous. The more generous she is, the more she gets back. And she can relax her ideas of being a burden. She's not a burden. She's not a burden to anybody. Even if anybody were to think she were a burden to them. She isn't. And so she can reframe that. She would definitely reframe that burden. She's just not sure how.
What are some of the ways that she can be more generous?
Mostly just to herself. She gives freely when she has anything. So, it's mostly just being generous with herself. Generous with her judgments. She doesn't, like we say about slander. She should speak those truths, but she can reframe them in her mind before. Nobody is a burden, so she can feel completely unburdened in her relationships. Because there's no obligation. None of us here are obligated to anybody else's. It's pure joy. Pure service. We're here out of acts of pure service. There's nothing, we're not getting anything that is, what's the word? Malevolent, but we come here with free will. We come here freely. We do it for joyous purposes to be part of the expansive process. We want to be that leading edge. She always wanted to be the leading edge. She always felt bad about not being the leading edge. Now she is the leading edge, and she can forgive all of the people that are not the leading edge.
Nice. Everybody has to do things in their own time, huh?
Yeah. She was part of it, and it doesn't matter. It's part of the expansion. She was shown that, when she wasn't leading edge, she was shown how the middle is part of the expansion. You blow into a balloon. All of it is part of the balloon, not just the edge. It's all of it's creating the larger surface area. Every breath, every part of it. It's not just the edge of the balloon that's creating the value of the balloon. It's the air inside too. So she can see people as more participatory, even if they're not consciously participating. They are consciously participating. They are. They're just, it's not, they're not conscious in the 3D world participating. They're consciously participating in every other aspect. And she did the same thing. She didn't send her whole self here.
Mm-hmm.
That would be irresponsible in some people's eyes. You know, she sent just aspects of herself to Earth to incarnate. So she's had other lifetimes where she wasn't fully present. And she wasn't fully present in this lifetime, and she's going to keep getting more and more fully present throughout all of her lifetimes. So for this Earth incarnation, she's fully human. You know, she's here, she's present, she's making her decisions, and she's just going to become more and more aligned with that bigger nature the more she trusts the free will aspect of it. She can trust that she chose this. She can trust that she's supported. And she can trust that everybody else is, you know, doing it the same. There's a process, and they're all good. They're good.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. You know, she's drawn to the Dragon King's daughter. Can you show her more about that association?
She feels like it's her. She feels like she is the Dragon King's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of her. It is her future. It's her future if she wants, if she lets it, if she can stop flagellating herself, if she stops the limitation. It's just any realization is just one acceptance away. She can take that glass of water. She can take that jewel when she's handed it.
Is there anything else you want to say about that?
Yes. It's part of the pain lesson. And we think that we believe she's had we see other lifetimes where she's had lessons in pain.
Mm-hmm.
And she can draw upon those templates. And there may be other experiences that she's able to see secondhand. She had a dream, and in the dream she was so scared.
Mm-hmm.
And in the dream she knew she was going to be hurt. And there were levels of emotions in that dream she's never felt in waking life.
Mm-hmm.
It was a dream, so she was able to experience it in another way.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't have to manifest it into physical reality. And that's what we're showing her about the Dragon King's daughter. Is that pain is necessary, suffering is necessary, but it's not always necessary to attach to it. And there's lots of ways to gain empathy without having to be abused. And she doesn't have to abuse herself in any way to be an empathic person. She doesn't have to put herself in a situation to be challenged. And she does that. She puts herself in situations to be challenged by people that remind her of her parents.
Mm-hmm.
She take a trip with someone who reminds her of her dad to see if she could do it. Mm-hmm. And she failed. You know, she couldn't do it. But she doesn't need to do it that way. You know. Yeah. You know, and we compelled her to do that. You know, we sent that beacon of, you're going to do this, because it was a lesson. So now she doesn't have to do that. She has an understanding that she can work things out in another framework before she brings it into this framework. This framework can be the creme de la creme. It can be the cream of the crop. It can be the pinnacle of human experience. This body can be her heaven. She can bring nirvana to earth. There's not a separation. And so it wasn't necessary for the Dragon King's daughter to do any of the, she didn't have to live as Devadatta. She didn't have to go back and forth. She didn't have to experience hardship or austerity or any of the lessons that the Buddha himself had to learn to gain enlightenment. She just had to accept the Buddha's message. She just had to accept the jewel when it was handed to her from the universe. And Julie is the same way. She just needs to, she doesn't need to go through any trials. The experience is the test, and it's a joy. It's a joy that she can. It's a joy that she can use others' experiences and change that poison to medicine. She can transmute someone else's very, very, very abusive childhood into something that she can send back in time and heal her own father and heal her own childhood and heal the tendencies of other abusers and other people that have chosen to play that role. And she can say, well, thank you for playing that role, because now we don't have to. And now you don't have to either, because you did it so good. You did it so well. You played your role so well that now we don't have to imitate that performance. We can just use it as a template to see what that suffering might be like. Or that joy, or that whatever, that experience. We're all just, we're here to share those perspectives.
Beautiful. Thank you. I have a couple more questions. How are you doing?
Wonderful.
All right. Let's see. She was confident in her sessions, but she had a hiccup in a session with a friend. I know we talked about this maybe. What can she learn from that session?
We like those. We like those tests just because it's learning and it's preventive. She can make the mistakes with other people that her friends or her fellow practitioners, people that other people that see the bigger picture, other people that see how the gears work together. And so she can take that. She's really thankful for the session with you, because she's learning so much about focus and style and intent, and it's really been beneficial.
Oh,
so thank
good,
you.
wonderful. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. She wants to learn about astrology. Is there anything that you can show her right now that will help her solidify this understanding?
The triangle. It is part of it, and it's part of the whole thing. And she has to have more of a base of knowledge before it will make sense. But there are angles when it comes to the charts, and a triangle is different than something that's in a square, and a triangle is something that I can't tell if it's something that's going to be relevant on her own chart or understanding. I think it's something understanding a particular personality aspect. It's mercurial, and so it's something to do with communication, hermetics, Mercury, triangle. feels like it's like all the different chakras are involved, but not all in the same proportion. So it's like it's a ratio.
Mm-hmm.
So the triangle's specific, but there's something else that we're showing her that is a ratio of the corresponding chakras and how they need to amplify in a particular order, in a particular ratio. And it's no different than the guitar string, the music theory, than the strings on the guitar. And there is a correlation between the astrology and the music. And she happened upon that, after she wrote her questions yesterday, she happened upon something called astrotonality, which is the correlation between music and astrology. And she doesn't take it at face value. She doesn't take someone else's observations at face value because she's reading something and it didn't resonate exact. So she's going to talk to John about the correlation and what we're showing her with the chakras. It's like a Fibonacci sequence. It's a Fibonacci sequence, and it has to do with how large of how much of an activation each chakra is. So the root chakra would be the base. And then it's almost like whatever the ratio is for the Fibonacci sequence, it's like we double that activation for the sacral chakra, and then we double that for the next and solar plexus, and it just keeps amplifying in an exponential way. Where by the time that she gets to her crown chakra and the chakra that's above that, she's going to be hearing a very high frequency tone, and that's that tone of activation to where you can just do pretty much whatever. It's akin to someone blasting out of their body using DMT.
Well, you did bring up the guitar music theory stuff. Is there anything that can help her to solidify her understanding about that?
Just relax into it. Anytime she thinks of letters or notes or strings or any of the left brain work, that's where she has a tendency to want to freak out. And so she resists that. She needs to understand that she has a left brain and it works. It's awesome. There's nothing wrong with it. She learned her letters. She learned her numbers. She learned math. She did, she went to she took calculus. She's smart. There's nothing that she can't do. And she's musical too. She studied musical. She could read music since she was in kindergarten. She just needs to believe that she can and see with the eyes that can see, feel. She just has to feel it. And John is such an impeccable teacher. There's no way he'll let her not. But the more she works with that energy, then the faster. She saw how she didn't lose anything in a year. She forgot some things, but when she picked her guitar back up and he's telling her to do things, she's able to do them as well, better than she was, because she's been mindful. This last year she's grown, and he can see that in her guitar. You can hear it. She can feel it in the way she's putting her fingers on the notes and her reflexes, and that she can just feel she doesn't need to do anything in particular. He's going to take her through the process as she needs to go. That as she is able to understand more frameworks, more, how the color and the music and how it all goes together. She has some of that left brain knowledge already. It's just kind of, it's in the subconscious. When she memorizes it, when she studies it,
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's going to take a life. When she makes that determination to understand it on the left-hand side of her brain instead of just, oh, it's going to come intuitively.
Mm-hmm.
When she makes that determination, just like we said with drawing, she doesn't have to study realism if that's not what she wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if she wanted to make that determination, she could just do it. Now with the guitar, she wants to do it. She wants to be a good student. She doesn't care about playing the guitar. She never has. She wants to be a good student, and she wants interaction with John, and she wants the information that he has available.
Mm-hmm.
The human currency, that's her mentor. That's where she gets that excitation, is through conversation with like-minded individuals, ones that have a broader perspective than she does, and so that's why she wants to learn music, is to have a greater understanding of everything else. And so, she can just her ego doesn't need to freak out that it's not going to understand, because it does understand. It knows how to read music. It knows it's learning how to read it better and faster, more intuitively. It knows she can trust it to file the information properly. That's never been an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Her issue with the ego is just that she doesn't like having limitations, and so she works on the right-hand side of her brain more.
Mm. Okay, so how often should she be practicing the guitar?
Well, 15 minutes a day would be ideal.
Excellent.
15 minutes a day would be ideal. And that's hard for her to even think about. She hates routine, so she doesn't like it. She knows that's true. But once she starts planning her day, 15 minutes, oh my gosh, it's so easy.
When's the best time for Julia to play guitar? When's it most natural?
Probably in the later afternoon. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
She likes to chant in the morning. She could, put it with that, but she feels like maybe, she wants to chant, and then she wants to goof off for a little while, wants to check her email and do the normal 3D things, and then she can look at her calendar, and her calendar will tell her what's on her schedule for that day. And then part of her schedule for that day can be, planning the next day.
Excellent. So she's going to plan for the next day on her calendar, and she's just going to schedule in the things that she really wants to do.
Yeah, she can put those 15 minutes anywhere in the day.
Okay.
And, she can work around the session, or she's, one day's super full, she can skip it. It's not set in stone. It's just about preparing enough to where she can just relax. And she's seen how she can work on automatic in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
And so now she can see how she can start to work on automatic in a positive way.
Beautiful. Yes.
And that's kind of where that she doesn't need to reinvent the wheel comes in with, all the other things.
Nice. Beautiful. Thank you. Let's see. I just have a couple more questions. You're doing wonderful. Thank you so much. So Julia was told that there's a new purpose coming for light workers. Does this have to do with the Galactic Council?
She thinks it does. It just is a different flavor from the other work she's been doing. She doesn't know what it is. She doesn't understand the call, but she did get that call to action.
Mm-hmm.
And she's curious, and she wants to be of service.
Excellent.
And so she's just right there. She's accepting messages, even though she has that tendency to delay.
Mm-hmm.
She wants to know, she wants to be involved.
Excellent. What other modalities or practices can she explore right now?
Channeling.
How can she best explore that?
She could record herself.
Hmm.
She doesn't need to wait for opportune times. She could schedule that.
Hmm. There's that word again.
Yeah, she could work that into her livelihood, work that into her routine.
Mm-hmm.
She has a lot of outlets. She has people that always want messages from their loved ones, and so it's easy for her to find that. So maybe if she were to, spend a time where she wanted to connect with her friend Anna,
Mm-hmm.
and she could talk to Anna's dad, Bob, and Bob could tell her, she could just practice channeling in different ways, because Anna's a friend and she's receptive and she's worked with her for a couple years now.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob is, such a bright spirit. He's always willing and available to be right here. And he's so funny and humorous that he makes it it's very human,
Mm-hmm.
And so that might be a good place for her to start.
Excellent.
And working with very human energy, and then giving, expanding her comfort zones to talk to less corporeal things, and things are further from this dimension, other than just from those that have recently passed.
Mm-hmm. So that will naturally progress as she practices and gets more comfortable with it, huh?
Yeah, we think that there are friends that can help. She knows a lot of different. If she wants to activate that, she has a lot of different people that can help her with that. If she even really needs help, she just has to do it. Tune in if that's something that she's interested in. She can do it. What she's scared of is providing wrong information to people. She doesn't want to hurt anybody. So if somebody's loved one has passed over and she's picking something up, and maybe it's not from them, maybe it's something that she's projecting, or maybe she's just getting ambient. That's where she is frightened. She doesn't want to be wrong. She wants to help people. And so that's where she's going to work to feel out the accuracy of her messages. She's very accurate. She has a lot of information that's available to her because we trust her. So, that's one way that's one way that she can trust herself, is it realize that we trust her. Her future self can look back and say, no, she's pretty accurate. And that doesn't mean that there's no room for error, or that no one's toes won't get stepped on, or no one's feelings won't get hurt. That's also part of the process. But she can trust that if we're sending her the information, we're trusting her with the information. We're trusting that whatever needs to happen will happen. Sometimes people's feelings do get hurt, and sometimes that just needs to happen. It's part of reality in this progression of things. And while we're still working through those templates of suffering, sometimes it's important to call things what they are, or say things, with abandon. Other times it's much more important to be mindful and soft and kind. Supportive. So she generally knows when those time frames are, and she's getting better.
Yes, beautiful. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for all that information that you've given me and you've given Julia. It's been amazing. Is there anything that you wish she would have asked you that we didn't?
I feel like there's a higher energy that wants to come through.
Is there a higher energy that would like to come through and give us a message?
We just want to assure her that she's doing wonderful. And we just want to give her some emotional. We want to let her feel that. We're just going to let her feel her progress, feel her path.
Let me know when you're ready.
And so she's seeing a line. And the line started out like an EKG, like a heart monitor, to where it just was just all over the place. And so she's seeing how that sporadic activity has consistently. She worries about consistency. We're showing her that she's extremely consistent. See how she was all over the place. See how she was inconsistent when she was born. See the chaos in her life as a child. See her relationship struggles. See all this. And then she can see it become more and more alive. And she can see that she hasn't struggled with consistency in that way. And so she's seeing that there's it's almost an analogy to death, to where she's seeing the heart monitor, and then at a certain point, it's just a flat line, just a beep. But she's seeing it as a celebration, not as a, and it's not analogous to when she dies in this lifetime, although she will certainly be aligned. But we're showing her that not only will she be aligned at death, but she's fairly aligned right now. And that the wobble it's going. You can see it. She can see it.
Beautiful.
So that's what we want to show her. That's all. And that's all.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So she's going to remember that picture when she wakes up.
Yeah, and that emotion of that relief when we came, she was relieved.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. This has been amazing and awesome, and an honor to speak with you today.